Hi, everybody. It's Hallie Hera. Today's externship topic is getting to the point, engaging in communication critical to the practice of law. At the end of the day, that's really what we do as lawyers. We're effective communicators. We communicate with our clients, we communicate with the court, no matter what your role, whether transactional, litigator, you will be, certainly if you decide to work on policy issues, you will be charged with being an effective communicator. So that's why we're going to focus on that topic today. So in your externships, you're going to build, hopefully, one of the goals is to build effective relationships with all different kinds of people. So not just lawyers. So of course, there's going to be your externship supervisor and other lawyers in the office. But you can learn just as much, sometimes even more, from staff who work at your site, from fellow externs who are there with you, maybe from another institution or even from your own institution. Hopefully, you'll have some experience with clients, perhaps doing intake. You can have interactions with the court and even vendors. In today's day and age, the way we practice law requires a lot of interaction with vendors. So there's going to be all sorts of people that you're going to be communicating with. So something to keep in mind, and this was fascinating to me, I never really thought about it this deliberately, is that because lawyers and people in general are working longer, this is the first time ever that there are 5 generations in the current workforce. And we throw around these sort of generational identifiers, and most of us don't stop and think too much about what they mean. But I laid them out for you here because I really wanted you to think about the different groups of people who will be at your site and how their life experiences are probably real different from yours. So still in the workforce are what are known as traditionalists. I've seen them also called the silent generation, born between 1927 and 1946, followed by the baby boomers, 1947 and 1964. Gen X, which admittedly I'm a member of, people born between 1965 and 1980. You hear a little less about Gen X, I find. And of course, we hear a whole lot about millennials, who are technically classified as born between 1981 and 2000. And of course, Gen Z, which a lot of you are watching this are Gen Zers. So you would be born between 2001 and 2020. So think about that. 5 different generations in the workforce. That's a lot of range of experiences. So when you are trying to build relationships, communicate with people, I want you to think about how their life experiences might differ from yours, depending on when they were born, right? Or maybe their exposure to technology has been different than yours. Some of you may be surprised to know I was a real holdout for the cell phone. I did not like the idea of being available to everybody all the time. And so I was a late adopter, and I did not get one until after I was a lawyer and working in my second legal job. And so I didn't grow up with a cell phone in high school. And for that matter, it was talk and text for a long time and not any smartphone or anything like that. And so the communications that I've experienced in my life are quite different from those of you who grew up as digital natives. But even though we might have different life experiences than other people, sorry about that, we do have similarities, regardless of our generation, regardless of what our backgrounds are. And that is, we all are interested in the workplace in building trust, in having human interaction and being nimble and innovative. And these last two, I mean, the COVID pandemic has absolutely spoken to those. I think we all like the idea of working remotely. I'm filming this from the comfort of my own home, which is great, but I do crave that human interaction sometimes. And during the time that we're physically distant, we really need to be very deliberate about those human interactions. And now more than ever, lawyers and professional workplaces are having to be nimble and innovative in how they communicate, right? And how we do business. And so you will see this at your externship site. Right now we're still in the midst of the pandemic. Eventually, we'll get to a place where it's endemic. But I think this idea that we need to be able to change rapidly and to adapt to whatever needs present themselves is going to stick around for a long time. So how do you sort of bridge the gap between those differences and the similarities? And it's very much similar to everything I'm talking about with respect to externships, and that is being very intentional and thoughtful about your interactions with people, right? The more deliberate and intentional you could be in your externship, I think the better experience you will have. Approach people with curiosity, right? Almost as an anthropologist would, right? So you may see a partner who is in her 70s and or a head of a nonprofit that you're working with, or a judge in their 70s, and you may off the bat feel that you don't have much in common with that person. Approach that person with curiosity, genuine curiosity, wanting to learn about their experience, right? Ask questions, right, to help you understand where people are coming from. So, we talk at times, and we'll touch on this a little bit, about getting assignments at your externship. So someone may say, you may say, what work product do you want? And they say, just come and present it to me orally. And you're thinking, well, you're really going to need something written, right? So help them ask questions that help you understand why they're asking for that work product. Maybe you can introduce something that would be more helpful to the person, right? So don't make assumptions about what people are thinking or feeling or why they're saying what they're saying. Actually ask, right? And move from unconscious to conscious communications, right? So just be very deliberate and thoughtful in your thoughts, and change your reflexive thinking, right? If you think, oh, well, the judge probably wants it that way because the judge doesn't know how to use a computer very well because the judge is elderly or whatever. Change that thinking. That's not necessarily true. Actually dig in and try and find out what the facts are. So try and observe people through a neutral lens, through a different learning lens, that you're almost doing an anthropological study of the people that you're building relationships with. So, you can ask for details. It's okay. I in reading the journals, the externship journals, I see a lot of students saying, I didn't really want to ask that. I wasn't sure if it was allowed. As long as you're respectful, you can ask all sorts of questions. And I think on balance, having supervised externs myself in the workplace, I think people are grateful that you are asking questions, right? It saves time, it saves effort, increases clarification. So here are some things that you expressly might consider. You can ask somebody, what's the best way to communicate with you when I'm in the office? Not everybody loves a drop by, right? So figure that out. Is it the same when I'm working remotely, right? Someone maybe email me, right? And you say, well, is it the same when I'm in the office or out of the office? What level of formality do you expect? What type of work product do you want? Do you want it to be just in an email, sort of summarizing things? Do you want something more formal? I would err on the side of formality. For better or for worse, the practice of law still tends to be fairly formal in the workplace. And so I would err on the side of being more formal in your interactions. I think sometimes externs and new lawyers get into trouble where things seem very informal and, maybe get taken a bit too far. So I would err on the side of formality, just leave it at that. Is it okay to text you? So this is a new phenomenon. I got to be honest with you. I don't love when people text me related to work. I'm just not used to it. Having said that, I have in recent years been exposed more and more to text, likely because of the pandemic. So instead of just assuming that that's someone's preferred means of communication, definitely ask. And you can ask, like, are there other, is there some work product you can show me? If they say, oh, so-and-so down the hall always sends me great summaries, you might say, do you have any of those available for me to see, just so that I can mirror that type of approach? But also kind of think before you act, right? What are some applied things that maybe you're not expressly stating, but require some consideration on your part? So if you have something really important to say, consider whether it's best handled by phone or in person. If you're really struggling with something at your site, right? Do you want to send an email? As lawyers and future lawyers, we need to think very deliberately about what we want to put in writing. Some things just warrant an in-person conversation. So really think about that. Is it an email? Is it a text? Do I pick up the phone and call somebody, or have an in-person communication? And similarly, if you're going to ask about something, make sure that you have sort of a legitimate work reason to ask for it, or a personal growth reason. Definitely stay away from office gossip, anything like that. Even if the door is open to that sort of discussion, please don't walk through it. It's not going to serve you. And then, do you have to make adjustments to your approach based on personality type, right? You are probably going to be working at your site for several different attorneys or several different staff members, what have you, and not everybody likes the same types of communication. And so it's up to you to figure out, okay, this person likes X, this person likes Y, right? And make sure that you're sort of addressing these relationships individually and taking note on what you need to consider to have a successful relationship with each person. But if I can emphasize anything, it's that the best communicators are effective listeners. And listening is so key to being a good lawyer. I struggle with this. I really intend to be a really good listener, but I am somebody who's sort of always up in my head. And so sometimes I'm trying to time when I respond to somebody and it gets awkward, or I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next instead of really tuning in. I really have to remind myself to sort of get outside my head. Weather's fine out here, right? And truly focus on what a person is saying. And so I challenge you to do the same. So not to pre-plan your answer, not to interrupt, not to sort of inject emotion as someone's talking. They're saying, what I would like is a survey of every state and what their law is on X. And you're saying in your head, like, how am I going to get this all done? Right? Try to reserve those thoughts for later so that you can truly listen objectively, truly focus. If this is a great skill to work on in your externship, it will serve you when you practice law. So start now and listen for substance. Don't jump to the analysis and thinking, okay, it sounds like the person wants to file. If someone says, research whether or not we can file a motion to dismiss, and you're sort of listening and you're jumping to the conclusion that that's how this person feels, don't do that. Instead, listen for the substance, save the analysis for later, and confirm your understanding. It's okay in the moment to say, okay, I'm not really sure I understand, or what I think you're asking me to do is X, right? So ask those clarifying questions Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Don't feel self-conscious about asking questions. As I said, usually they help. Rarely do they make matters worse, because you can get to some sort of understanding. And then take note of nonverbal cues. So if you are communicating with somebody and they're looking at their watch, or they turn to look at whatever's on their desk, that's a nonverbal cue basically telling you, look, the communication is over. So if you have those clarifying questions, save them for later, or ask when you can follow up later. So just some things to keep in mind. Nothing groundbreaking here, but what I want you to do is be very intentional about practicing this skill. An externship is a great time to do that. And I want you to remember, you're not going to nail it out of the gate. Again, we're human. If there's a theme that could run through all of these videos, is that we are human. So really what we're striving for is just progress, right? Every communication you have at your site is an opportunity for progress, for building your skills. So you don't think we're looking for perfection. This video is far from perfect. Everything I do is far from perfect. I'm human. I give it my best shot, right? I'm sure there's a lot of things I could do better. I am a work in progress, right? We all are. But just know that I believe you can do it. So really stay after it and do the best you can to be as thoughtful and deliberate in your communications as you can at your externship site. And I look forward to hearing about it. In the meantime, I'll be rooting for you. Thanks.